Hello and welcome to another episode of Telling Everybody Everything. It is Monday, the 24th of November. Here are the things promotionally that I need to tell you about straight off the top. On January 29th, I believe, or maybe the 27th. See, this is why I'm bad at promotion, but I'm in Los Angeles and I'm doing some shows there. One specifically is on sale right now. Just Google Katherine Ryan Los Angeles, or you can go to the ticket link through my Instagram bio. Do not get any tickets from third-party sellers. There is a third-party seller that I personally shared the ticket link of because I didn't know any better. So don't listen to me. Just find a ticket some way. I love when people are like, well, how do I get tickets to that? I don't know. That's not my area. It's part of the fun, like trying to figure out how to get there. If you can, I will be very grateful. That is in January. Also, I'm in a Sky Cinemas film, a Christmas movie that I think is going to go down in history as one of the funniest, most heartwarming. I'll say it now. I think it has the lasting power of Elf. It stars Mawaan Rizwan, Rebel Wilson, Danny Dyer, and Canadian legend Kiefer Sutherland, and me, and some other really funny people. Jason Manford is in it. It was filmed in Leeds for the most part, in or around Leeds, and it is like a diva Hollywood actor guy, can't get work. His agent, that's me, really despises him, and she's like, you got one last shot. You could do theater in England. And he's like, yes, but then it turns out to be panto. A lot of twists and turns along the way, heartwarming moments. I have not seen the film. I've been invited to the premiere next week, but I've not even seen it. I've done a few interviews about it, and everyone who's seen it absolutely loves it. So I don't think I'm giving any spoilers away. I can see in the trailer that in addition to being an asshole deadbeat actor, this guy is a deadbeat dad. And I think he reconnects with who seems to be his daughter in London or in England, wherever the hell this happens. Rebel Wilson's doing a very interesting Yorkshire accent. And I mean, it's just a good film. It's got everything you want from a Christmas film. Fairy lights, comedy, panto, mittens. It just looks great. And I'm so excited to see the premiere. So that will be available for you to watch on Sky Cinemas from very soon, probably from next week. I also have a Christmas special podcast out on Audible, exclusively on Audible with Bobby. And that's really, really fun. You can find it exclusively on Audible, or you can always listen to my other podcasts, What's My Age Again, Write Me Dirty, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, this one. I'm not doing many other Christmas shows, but I might pop up at your little company corporate's award due or event very soon. And then I'm just maxing and relaxing in December. I love Fred. I don't ever want to drag Fred through the medium of podcast. But the Ryan Kutstra household has been struck down with like 4 back-to-back illnesses. And Fred had breath the other day that was questionable. I was like, something's up with his breath. Is he unwell? Like, I brush his teeth personally, but there was a time where he was really resistant to having his teeth brushed, and it just wasn't worth the meltdown with Fred. He was only a little boy, so I was like, okay, well, how bad could his little milky teeth get? Bad. I looked in his mouth with a torch, and I could see he had plaque in between his bottom front teeth, the 2 bottom front ones. I could see that plaque coming through. And I looked a bit more, and he had plaque on the inside of his bottom teeth. And I was like, how in 4 years of life do you get plaque? I will tell you how. It's through still having a dummy at night and still drinking bottles of milk at night, and then missing several crucial months of like proper electric toothbrushing when he was really throwing up a fit about it. It's too late. Like, once the plaque has cemented onto the teeth and it's hardened, you aren't really going to be able to brush it off. You have to go to the dentist. They have to get their little tools and scrape it off or like buzz it off, whatever. We tried playing dentist at home, and we have doctor kits and tool kits and dentist kits. And Fenna came over with the drill. I said, oh, look, there's the drill. I'm trying to take the sting off these instruments before a trip to the dentist that is much needed. I was like, oh, look at that. Fenna's got a drill. She goes, no, I've got the herter. I was like, the what? She goes, the herter. The herter. Like, how does she know that a drill in your mouth could or might hurt. Not the best name for it when we're trying to get Fred relaxed about going to the dentist. But anyway, I was able to take him to our local dentist, where I was hit with shocking news. Our hygienist, one of my favorite people on this planet, because I love the dentist, is leaving dentistry to become a fucking author. Like the world needs another person writing books. Oh, she's really smart. Of course, she's an immigrant. So she's good at like 12 things and speaks 5 languages and has all this education in philosophy and history and all these different areas, in addition to medicine, and has trained and become a hygienist. You know, she's just like a quadruple threat. And we should close the borders, is how I feel about that. Because you let immigrants in and they help you and they cozy up to you for years and you depend on them and they pay their taxes and they change the face of this country for the better. And then they pull the rug out from under you and they become an author. And that's what hurts. And I'm heartbroken to lose her, but I still have 3 sweet months where I can book in for cleaning appointments. So anyway, I take Fred and I specified during booking with the reception lady, whom I also love, I said, it is his first official dentist visit. He's come with me a few times to get him used to it, but this is his first hygiene appointment. And we went in and I knew we needed to get this plaque off, and Bobby stayed in the car. He had a phone call, in fairness, but also like Bobby's not the one for these appointments. He does not attend vaccination appointments for a variety of reasons. He doesn't attend the heel pricks. He does not attend the tonsillectomy. He does not have what it takes. And that is a compliment to my husband. He is kind and soft, and it like troubles him to see the children in any discomfort. And if I weren't available to do these things for the children, I'm sure he would step up and do it, but it's just better if he doesn't. It's better if he stays out of it, if he doesn't puke. And also the children, they know that mommy means business. And I think if Bobby were there, they would appeal to his soft heart, which I don't have, and they would weasel out of some of these situations. So I take Fred in the dentist appointment. And at first he's really excited. He's like, yeah, all right, I'll go to the dentist. Like, Fred is a changed man. He's really brave. He's still doing just 3 days. Oh, no, he's not. I think we've bumped him up. Yeah, Fred's now doing 4 days a week at school, but he does leave early. And we're working towards 5 days of school. And I'm so happy we didn't hold him back now. You will remember from previous episodes that Fred is a young 4. He just turned 4 in June. And he's a little boy, which, depending on what you believe, articles that I've read do indicate that little boys are neurologically more fragile than girls. I think neurologically deficient was maybe the term used, but it takes boys a while to gain the emotional intelligence, to learn how to self-regulate. And Fred's just been great with that. And he swims. He leaves school on the coach with his friends to go swimming, and he does PE, and he does forest school. And it's such an incredible community and environment. And we're just so pleased for Fred. And he's come a long way in his confidence. And so he was fine in the dentist at first. And then Anna, the wonderful hygienist, was like, okay, Fred, these are the tools I have. Like, you're going to get in the chair. And then he clamped up. He was like, oh, I'm not going to get in that chair. And I was like, oh, here we go. Like, he needs to sit in the dentist chair and relax so that we can get this plaque off his teeth. Because if he won't, I am so like disgusted by horrible breath. And obviously, like, oral health is really important for your general health, for your cardiovascular health. Like, it means everything, not to have like infected gums. So I was ready to pin him down. I didn't care what it took. But I'm holding Holland. Fenna is like running around the office because she's all excited. Fenna is the opposite of Fred. She's like, my turn. I'll get in the chair. And the lady, Anna, was like, it's all right, Fred. You can sit in that chair, like the regular dad chair, you know, the chair for like if you bring a chaperone. She's like, you can sit in that chair, Fred. That's fine. Is that a deal? And through, you know, kind of controlled tears, Fred wasn't sobbing, but he was like quietly crying. He's like, yes, I will sit in the chair. And I will let you look at my teeth. And I couldn't believe the rapport that she had instantly with him. Like, how does a hygienist have to be like a nurse and a doctor, number one, like a dental practitioner, but also like a therapist? Even adults are scared of the dentist. An early childhood educator, like they wear so many hats. Author, philosopher. So she just connected with him right away. And then she came over to the waiting chair while Fenna now is laying in the proper dentist chair, watching the cartoons on the ceiling. And she squatted. Now, this lady popped a squat for like 30 full minutes. And she used just her little scraper, nothing with power. And she just used her mirror and her light and went in and scraped all this plaque off Fred's teeth and showed him little bits of it each time. And we have spoken a lot at home about germs, and there's a cartoon on YouTube that's really useful if you're struggling to get your kids to brush their teeth. It's called Hecky Smecky. And I don't know what the hell, like they listen to a lot of Eastern European like AI cartoons. I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's like, I know a little monster, Hecky Smecky is his name. If you like sweets and chocolate, well, Hecky's just the same. It's like a fake Irish accent, I think. And there's a little red monster in teeth, and he's like bang, 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 and he kind of burrows holes in teeth, and he lives there, and you have to scrub him away. The children love watching Hecky Smecky, and they like the concept of like, oh, I don't want germs like setting up shop in my mouth. I have to brush them away. What sends the germs back to germ world? Because we never talk about killing or hurting. What sends the germs back to germ world is toothbrushes and toothpaste and flossing and all these things. So she went right into that mode. She's like, yeah, you've got little bugs on your teeth. And Fred's like, germs? She's like, yeah, the germs. You want to see this germ? You want to see that germ? So she was taking out like little, like sort of shards of plaque and showing it to Fred. And that motivated him to keep going. And she was counting down from 100 and just really talking him through every step of the way. And he was so wonderful about it. And we got all the plaque off his teeth. And now his breath smells good. And I was saying to Bobby, he had plaque on his teeth. And Bobby's like, oh, well, Bobby didn't even know what plaque was. I'm like, well, you have like guck on your teeth. I don't know what it's called. Just like stuff, germs, dirt. And if you leave it for more than, I think it's 12 or maybe 24 hours, it will harden into plaque and then you're fucked. So this is why everybody has to brush and floss at least twice a day and use the interdentals and whatever. But once you've got plaque, you got to go to the dentist. You got to go to the hygienist. I don't know how much it costs. What is it, like 40 pounds, 60 pounds? Just treat yourself. Go to the hygienist. Like make that appointment before Christmas. Just go there. This is not an ad for dental hygiene, but it fucking should be. I came to this country with one goal and one goal only, and that is to clean up all of your teeth. Bobby and I have been on 2 dates this week, and oh my gosh, my milk just let down as soon as I said that. Oh no. I'm going to have to go inside and change my shirt soon. But sometimes when you get really happy or excited or emote in any way, your milk just goes and lets down. Okay, so you can imagine how excited I was. 2 dates this week. We've got another date this week to see Violet's school production of Guys and Dolls. The first date was very impromptu indeed. I received a call 24 hours before go time from a celebrity friend. An amazing friend, not just because he's a celeb, but like he's always been someone that I love and admire, but he gets up to like fun shit. And so he goes, are you free tomorrow night? I said, yes. Because when this man asks me to jump, I say, how high? I said, yes, I'm free. You'd be a fool not to make yourself free for this man. He's like, all right. He says to me, Italian 80s glam fashion vibes. Dinner and dancing tomorrow at 8:00. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Italian 80s glam fashion vibes. Oh yeah. So with 24 hours notice, I'm just going to pop in my closet and find something that is Italian 80s glam fashion. I had to Google it. Even AI was like, I don't really know. They were showing me daytime looks. I was like, no, glam fashion 80s. Like what would they wear out at night? And it was all about opulence and embellishment and big furs and sleeves, and it was like the time of Armani, like men were dressing really flashy, and I mean, I looked and looked, but I was receiving a lot of mixed messages. Nevertheless, I was really excited. I ended up wearing this red Rodart, which I think is French. Is Rodart French? Hang on, I'll get a producer to check on that. Oh, hell to the no. Rodart is not a French brand. It's an American brand founded in the USA by sisters Kate and Laura Malevy. Rodart comes from the maiden name of their mother. Yeah, right, Malevies. They're fraudulent. Malevi. Because if that brand, you know Rodart, if that brand were called Malevi, it just doesn't have the glam factor. Damn it. Fooled by the Americans again. Well, anyway, I love Rodart, and it has sleeves and it's red. So I just thought like, okay, there was a rose at the center of the bust. It fits me right now, crucially, because I'm still fat from being pregnant. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to wear this. And I was out working all day in York, all day with the baby. And so I got home, I just had to wear like the makeup that I had on all day and this dress. And then Bobby looked amazing. He was wearing a white suit with a Gucci scarf. And even he was frustrated. He's like, where are we going? Like, what is happening? I just said, we're going to this restaurant. I don't know what's happening. I just, like, this was the brief. And he says, surely there's more to the brief than like Italian 80s glam fashion. I said, no, there wasn't. Dinner and dancing, Italian 80s glam fashion. I think that we are dressed appropriately. Let's go. So we got there 8 minutes late, which was stressful because you don't want to be late for a dinner, like a sit-down proper dinner. And when we walked in, it was a very small party. It was 3 couples, including us, and one more guest who was a celebrity, again, that I am very starstruck by because of his work, but also because of his recent cartoon voicing. It's funny, like what really strikes me in terms of star quality, star power. Like I do meet famous people sometimes, and that's fine. Like I don't know. I meet people whose work I admire. I think they're talented. I think it's cool to see them in real life. You never lose that feeling of like, oh, what happens more often than not is you think it's a friend. You're like, oh, my friend. And then you're like, oh no, you're not my friend. I just think that you're my friend because I recognize you from television. Oops. Like I did that with the sister on Fleabag, this actress, Sean. I saw her at a theatrical production of something in the drinks area. And I was chatting to her because I thought we were friends. And halfway through the conversation, I was like, oh, no, you're not my friend. I think that I'm friends with you because I watch you on Fleabag. And I've recently just like binged the whole thing and you don't know me at all. And here I've been so familiar with you. I'm sorry. But this man, so I've loved his work since I was a teenager. Loved his work. Specifically, my sister Joanne is obsessed with his work. He's in town. He doesn't live in London. He's in town doing scripts for something new, but he has been the voice of a very prominent cartoon in our household that I've watched because kids rewatch cartoons no less than 300 times. And when I saw him, I was like, oh, not because of his body of work that I should be and am impressed by, but just because of this cartoon. I was like, oh my gosh, we had a cake of you. And he's like, what? Like, who says that to someone at a dinner party? I sat down and I said, you're so important in our household. We had a cake of you. He's like, you had a cake of me? Such a fucking creepy thing to say. But it was a great group of people. I had so much fun. And I love a last minute invite. So obviously what happened is another couple dropped out. Don't worry. If you're listening to the story thinking, oh, you weren't originally invited to that, Katherine, it's fine. I know. I am the one to invite last minute. That's me. Because you invite me weeks in advance. If work comes up, I'll go to work instead. You invite me with 24 hours notice. If I'm free, you will see me there dressed as appropriately as I can be dressed. So we have dinner. It's a great group of people. Like it was so much fun. And then an Italian man takes to the stage and instantly I understood the fashion brief, which by the way, no one else at the table like really fulfilled to the extent that Bobby and I did. We looked a bit like we were in costume. And a few people around the restaurant also looked a bit in costume. But you know, our other guests were a little bit like 2 notches down from how we looked. We looked a bit Halloween, a bit mob wife. It was giving, you know, over-fulfillment of the brief. But then this Italian man took the stage, and his name was Alessandro. And I forget his last name, which is really rude. Hang on, I'll ask a producer. Here we go. AI tells me that I am thinking of popular Italian singer and showman, and capital letters on the fucking showman, Alessandro Ristori, who often performs at exclusive venues. He's often featured for private dinner concert events, and he's known for his lively and glamorous atmosphere. Alessandro Ristori. You need to look at this guy. He is the greatest entertainer of our generation. I'm looking him up again. Where else can I see him? Oh my God, musical. Okay, just do me a favor and Google him now. And the first photo that comes up, like this is it. A lifetime on stage. Alessandro is a singer and a showman since his teenage years. His main inspirations are Italian music from the 60s and 70s. Oh, and there are YouTube videos. Great. He is incredible. And what was so much fun about the night is I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And when I arrive, oh, okay. Oh my God, this really talented actor is at the table with us. Oh my gosh, my friends who I love are here. Oh my gosh, I don't have a baby attached to my boob. Oh my gosh, this dinner is so delicious. So that's all fun, champagne fun. And then Alessandro Ristori gets to the stage and I was like, what? Like it was surprise after surprise. He was doing kicks. He was wearing velvet burgundy trousers. He was wearing a button-up shirt that he unbuttoned as the set list went on. I think he performed for 2 hours solid. And the hits kept coming and he was singing in English. He was singing in Italian. He's so fucking talented. Do you understand me? If you have an opportunity, and I was sat there thinking, I am so lucky just to be here. When I think about how thrilled an evening with Alessandro Ristori would be for my dad and his partner Cheryl, my mom and her partner Abe would have liked it as well, but there was just something that anyone would love it. But it made me feel almost sad. I loved it so much that I felt sad that my dad is what age now? Like 73. And I don't know if he'll ever see Alessandro Ristori. I think I need to work as hard as I can for the next year, cancel the facelift, and invest as much cash as I can to getting Alessandro Ristori to do a concert for my dad. It was so great, but actually you wouldn't want it to be a private concert. That would be creepy. It would be more like a bachelor party, but the whole atmosphere of the whole night, the waiters were dancing, the menu was Italian inspired that night. There was tiramisu for dessert. There was such nice drinks. Everyone got up and danced. It was just so much fun. And I don't usually have fun. I'm very focused. And this was just honestly the night of my life. I love to be surprised by something. I love to know something new that I didn't expect to learn. Just take a few minutes to yourself and watch this guy on YouTube. Okay, I have just had to subscribe to the Times to read this article. Meet Alessandro Ristori, the retro wedding singer loved by the super rich. The quote, Italian Elvis is a household name amongst the 0.01%. There will always be something slightly agonizing about wedding singers, what with all the failed dreams of pop stardom and valiant covers of Oops Upside Your Head. Alessandro Ristori, though, might just be the exception to the rule. Unless you have a yacht, you probably won't have heard of him. What the fuck? But this brilliantly, brazenly naff Italian rock and roll singer has, over the past 18 months, become the default live act for European jet setters and their parties. And I am telling you, whatever he costs, he's worth every penny. He's now a household name among the 0.01%, which is arguably a much happier position than being semi-successful the world over. Ristori succinctly refers to his clientele as the circle of rich people because of the way they move en masse around the French Riviera. They call him the Italian Elvis. Recent gigs include the aristocratic model and granddaughter of Grace Kelly, Charlotte Casiraghi's lavish wedding, and this year's Bal de la Rose, a big deal high society gala in Monaco. He's a favorite with the former Formula One boss Flavio Briatore and Members Club Annabelle's in London. Last time he was there, he leapt from the stage onto Rod Stewart's table. When we meet, Ristori recounts the night. Rod enjoyed, he told me. You are too sexy for me. What? That's exactly something he would say. There was one point in the performance at the end when he said, all the ladies come to the stage. And I thought he said, older ladies come to the stage, because that's what it sounded like to me. And I was in such a romantic trance that I self-identified as an older lady, and I came to the stage. And we all danced around him, and the stage was completely full of ladies. And that's when I realized what he'd actually said, because there were a lot of younger ladies, the little sex workers who kind of float around these places solo. They were all on the stage. I was on the stage. My friends were on the stage. I didn't even know that I was in the company of the Italian Elvis. Well, I mean, I did know. It was blatantly obvious by the performance, but I hadn't read any of these articles. He came out of the blue, like I said. Older ladies come to the stage. That would have been a flex if he said that. Oh, You are too sexy for me. That's exactly something he would say. These are venues and high net worth individuals who could probably afford to book Jay-Z if they wanted, but instead they're enthralled to a showman whose unlikely USP is wildly camp, heavily accented covers of Elvis, Tom Jones, which he was incredible at, Dean Martin, and Johnny Halliday. Still more fluky, Ristori, 40? He's 40? When was this article written? Oh, 2019. Okay, so he's like 46 or 7. Fine, I'll take it. I didn't really know. I'm going to have to message my friend and say he's 40. Anyway, he has become a mascot of the high fashion world. People call me Gucci guy, he says, delighted at being regularly gifted Gucci suits. We're chatting in a bland hotel bar in Knightsbridge where Ristori's outfit, white flares, Cuban heels, statement sideburns could be fancy dress against the beige baguettes. There is a visible chest hair, but thanks to a natty cravat, the effect is more Austin Powers than Italian Stallion. The look is more startling because Ristori's drummer, who sits with us nursing an espresso and acting as an interpreter, is dressed normally. Normally, what's normal for you is not normal for Alessandro Ristori. Ristori drinks champagne, pronounced with endearing enthusiasm, champagne. Has an infectious laugh like an operatic machine gun. Later, he writes this laugh in an email, spelling it, ha 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 ha. This is exactly how it sounds. The closest Ristori, a talented singer as a child, and his band came to fame, at first were some appearances on regional Italian television. Then, in 2015, he began to play Le Bar Américain in Monte Carlo, made famous by the Rat Pack, and thanks to the Grand Prix, began to be seen by international moneyed audience. Within a year, Briatore was a fan, and bookings from other billionaires began to roll in. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Just over 10 years ago, he was kind of like fledgling. You know what I mean? I don't know. But then he took a gig that maybe felt like a step down at the time from what I'm reading in the Times. Maybe he's like, oh, I'm not going to be a pop star. Okay, well, I'll do some lounge singer stuff. But you perform it the way I saw him perform last week, and it's inevitable that you are going to be noticed by Flavio Briatore. During his time off, his life back in Italy is low-key. He's close to his parents, and he's married to a jewelry designer. Well, he shouldn't really be telling all the women that they're sexy, should he? I guess it's part of their shtick. Is coming home a shock to the system? Of course. After a sweet time around the world, it's not easy to come back in the piazza with the old man at the bar and the stupid one you saw every day for 20 years. Who's that? But I need to stay with the normal people at the bar. When I'm on stage, I have to be the normal one. I have to give the normal feeling to the rich people. It would be hard to describe Ristori as normal in any way. I concur. What a fucking night. And also we saw Radiohead. And I can't go on about them the way I've gone on about Alessandro Ristori, but they are deserving of it. I will just tell you this. Tom York is the lead singer of Radiohead. I've always loved Radiohead from, the 90s when all the boys were listening to them and Brad Pitt was naming them as his favorite band, and they had so many hits, and they've had a resurgence now on TikTok, so Violet knows Radiohead. This is what happens. Alessandro Ristori, he needs to get on TikTok. He needs to get on TikTok. Is he on TikTok? I think what I might do is pirate his YouTube videos and put them on fucking TikTok. Do him a favor and roll him out to the masses because he's the single greatest entertainer of our generation, tied with Steve Harvey. But Tom York, lead singer of Radiohead, incredible. I didn't even realize until I saw him live Saturday night at the O2, and you can see him tonight, and then they're on tour in Europe. The genre is so interesting. It's sort of like grunge, but then there's a little bit, there's obviously rock and roll. There are ballads in there. It's a bit punk. Like the way he dresses is so incredible. His dancing is so incredible. He just has this reckless abandon. It's a little Beastie Boys, a little Jamiroquai. Like I'm not a music reviewer by any means, but like I just loved it so much. I will remember and recount to you the time Bobby met Tom York. When I was still courting Bobby, like all the best things happened in that year. We had no small kids. COVID had not ruined life yet. We went to a Pearl Jam concert and Bobby met Eddie Vedder backstage, thanks to Ian Coburn at Live Nation. We were invited to Maya Jama's birthday party. Bobby got a pic with Maya, the most beautiful woman in the world, bar none. Then we were invited to do Benedict Cumberbatch's Letters Live, or Live Letters, which is a night that they do for charity at the Union Chapel in Islington. And it's where actors and comedians and musicians come and they read letters from the past. I read a letter that was written by Joan Rivers' daughter, Melissa. I was by far the least famous person there. It's very like actory. It's very theatery. I remember Noel Fielding was reading a letter and he was deviating from the letter and being funny, and the audience were really laughing. And Benedict Cumberbatch backstage was watching from this television that we had set up so that we could see. And he was like not understanding why Noel Fielding was deviating from the letter. He was laughing, but he was like, just read the letter. You're supposed to read the letter. And it's like, no, we deviate. And Noel got loads of laughs in the room. But anyway, Bobby came with me to that and we're backstage. And Bobby just went white. And I was like, what? What's up? And he goes, is that Tom York? And I was like, I don't know. He goes, is that the lead singer of Radiohead, Tom York? I said, probably not. I mean, I walk into so many situations not knowing what I'm getting into. And Bobby was like, it is. It's Tom York. It's the lead singer of Radiohead, my favorite band, Pearl Jam and Radiohead for Bobby, and Alice in Chains. There are a few, but Bobby was like, that is Tom York. Oh my God. And he was still new to these environments. So he stayed cool. This is why Bobby's so amazing. It was like Violet having an audience with Taylor Swift, if you can imagine what that reaction could be. Bobby held it together. And then there was pizza that arrived, and Tom York was like, oh, do you want to have some pizza? And Bobby sat on the sofas and had a chat and had pizza with, who was it? It was like Tom Hiddleston and Tom York, the two Toms of our generation. And Bobby just couldn't believe it. He was like, And I didn't really know the lead singer of Radiohead at that time, but I thought, what a lovely man. I love the music, but I wasn't starstruck in the same way that I was about this cartoon voice actor that I saw the other night. But seeing Radiohead live, like, I'm so glad that I'm not now meeting Tom York for the first time, because I would shit myself. I'd be like, you are one of the greatest. I know that's hard to take me seriously because I just waxed lyrical about Alessandro, but what a week to see two of the best men to ever do it. Like, two of the finest dancers, the finest showmen, the finest performers. And Tom York writes loads of that music and plays loads of instruments and is just like a quiet, nice guy with the best fashion styling I've ever seen in my life. I've had an incredible week. Guys and Dolls, Violet, Guys and Dolls is going to have to step it up on Wednesday because I've seen a lot of high caliber performances lately. In other news this week, one of my girlfriends got mad at me because I went to a fireworks display last week and I didn't tell her I was going. And she was also there and we met at the fireworks thing, but it was a surprise. And when she saw me, she was like, why didn't you tell me you were coming? And I said, well, because I've got my tit out and I've got a newborn and I'm wrangling the toddlers and Violet, and I won't be able to have a conversation anyway. Like, I can't have a conversation for 6 months at least. So why tell anyone I'm going anywhere? It's pointless. Like, am I there? Am I not there? We can't have a drink together. We can't chat. Even if I didn't have all these kids, there are loud fireworks. It's a super busy environment. And I didn't think to tell you I was going. I think that's probably what hurt her the most. I didn't think to tell her I was going because I don't have time to consider these things. I didn't even know if we would go. We got tickets. It was an aspiration to go. Would we actually make it with 3 small children and Violet to the fireworks? It depends what mood everyone's in. We've also been sick on and off for like months. But we went, we bumped into her. She said, I can't believe you didn't tell me you were here. I said, well, I'm essentially not here and I'm leaving now. And I spoke to her later in the week. And she said to me, I'm still mad at you, by the way. And I went, okay. Like, I've reached a point in my life. Why be mad at me? Be mad at me if you want. It doesn't affect me in any way. You're mad at me and what? What happens now? How does my life change? You're going to have to get over it. You can continue to be my friend and get over it. You accept my apology and move forward, or don't be my friend. But why waste your time being mad at me? Mad at me? What's that? I don't know who says that. I'm still mad at you, by the way. Okay. All right. Look, she knows what it's like. She's got small kids of her own. I will be back. I will be back in the game, but not right now. A lot of interesting stuff from around the globe, curated by my good friend Andrew Johnston, who is not mad at me. The fondant of youth. The legendary Jane Fonda recently appeared on Michelle Obama's podcast, The Look, for a discussion on aging. She said, and she's 87, by the way, she's sprightly and chic, and she said, "I didn't think I'd live past 30. I was sure I was going to die. My mother died when I was 12," the double Oscar and BAFTA winner continued, referencing how her mother, Frances Ford Seymour, died by taking her own life in 1950. "My youth was not especially happy, and I'm not addictive, but I thought I was going to die from drugs and loneliness. The fact that I'm almost 88 is astonishing to me," Fonda, whose birthday is December 21st, added. "And what is even more astonishing is that I'm better now. I wouldn't go back for anything. I feel more centered, more whole, more complete. I'm very happy, and I'm single." Later in the discussion, Fonda shared that, quote, "I've never been afraid of aging, and more importantly, I am not afraid of dying." The Oscar winner said when she turned 60, she thought, "This is the beginning of my final act, and I didn't know how to live it." Fonda shared that's when she realized, "I'm afraid of dying with lots of regrets. I watched my dad die with lots of regrets," she said about the late Henry Fonda, who died in 1982 at age 77. "That was an important realization for me, because if you don't want to die with regrets, then you have to live the last part of your life in such a way that there won't be any regrets." And that's why she's so fucking boss and so outspoken. And do you remember she went viral a few years ago for getting trapped in her dress? She had come from an awards event, and we've all been there. Like, fashion is not made for single women, unfortunately. They expect that you have like a maiden or a stylist or someone to zip you into your clothes, but then how do you get out of them? I have had many an Uber driver undo my dress, which feels like an advance. And I'm lucky to have made it out alive, because otherwise, I mean, when Violet was really small and I was single, I started going to events. I'd come home and wake her up, be like, "Violet, please will you unzip my dress?" Wake her up, because I'd forget to ask the babysitter. And then I just learned to ask the Uber driver or the babysitter. And now, thankfully, I have Bobby. But if you're in a position where you're a hot single lady coming home with a fucking Oscar because you're Jane Fonda, then you have to sleep in your dress. So she took a photo in the morning. She was making her breakfast. And I don't know who arrived at the house to take the photo, her personal assistant or a dog walker, or someone took the photo and then mercifully liberated her from her dress. As Jane Fonda has previously shared, before her father died, quote, "I was able to tell him that I loved him and that I forgave him for, whatever didn't happen. And I hoped that he would forgive me for not being a better daughter. I got to say that to him. He didn't say anything, but he wept," she said. "And I'd never seen that before. I'd never seen my father break down and weep, and it was powerful." As Fonda said on the podcast, it helped her realize that what she wanted for her own life. "I also want to be surrounded by people who love me," she said. "Forgiveness comes into play, including forgiving myself. That actually has guided me in the last 30 years. I've been living not to have regrets." I have lived that way all of my life. I'm really shocked, actually, that it took Jane Fonda until age 60 to start living that way. I think that is a much more sensible fear, not to be afraid of dying or to be afraid of aging, because both of those things are inevitable. I mean, you're lucky if you get to age before death, but yeah, to live without regrets. And I think that's why I'm just impervious to criticism. I really don't care. Like, whatever people want to say, fine. I still went and did that thing. If I cared what every bitch in New York thought of me, I would never leave the house. And often people ask me to share that. I was a guest on Emma Barnett's new podcast, Ready to Talk, and the subject came up of the way that she and I both live. And she said, "Well, how do we inspire and empower other women to live the same way?" I've said everything I can say about it, really. It's so many people are frozen by the fear of what hasn't even happened yet. They go, "Oh, well, what might that person think? What might that person say?" If you are authentically living your life, moving from the heart, you're a kind and generous person, and you want to try something, you want to do something, fear of criticism should not stand in your way, because then you will die with regrets. Would you like some more Epstein stuff? Because avid listeners of Telling Everybody Everything will never forget Bobby's jet skiing accident this past summer and corresponding injury that caused him to Google, quote, "torn groin, small penis." While it's a good thing Bobby's micropene was very temporary, otherwise he would be in extremely unfortunate company. Because you see, some newly surfaced footage lit the internet ablaze this week, showing the late sex pest Jeffrey Epstein in a deposition for a civil lawsuit back in 2009 after a number of underage girls alleged they'd been groomed and abused by him. Is it true, sir, that you have what is described as an egg-shaped penis? The attorney for the alleged victims can be heard asking. One witness described your penis as oval-shaped. It was thick toward the bottom, but was thin and small toward the head portion, and she called it egg-shaped, the attorney continues. Seconds later, Epstein's attorney abruptly ends the interview, and the billionaire financier can be seen tearing off his microphone. The humiliating clip resurfaced as just another alleged victim, Rena O, dropped a separate bombshell about Epstein's nether regions. Mrs. O, who has long claimed she was among the scores of young women preyed on and abused by Epstein, told British magazine Queen Tina Brown that the predator had a, quote, extremely deformed penis that was shaped like a lemon. Didn't they say the same thing about Harvey Weinstein as well? Aren't a lot of these, like, oligarch-style, power-mad, sexual predators said or rumored or alleged, whatever doesn't get me sued, to have, like, not just small penises, because, like, you can work with a small penis, but, like, crazy deformed dicks? Some people have described it as the shape of an egg. I think it was more the shape of a lemon, said Ms. O, and it was really small when fully erect, probably 2 inches. He had an extremely deformed penis, she concluded, in case there was any ambiguity there. However, it turns out a micropene might literally be the mark of the beast if Channel 4's two-part documentary, Hitler's DNA, Blueprint of a Dictator, is to be believed. After tracking down a blood-drenched swatch of fabric cut by a U.S. soldier from the sofa on which Hitler apparently killed himself, they linked it to a male line relative swab collected a decade ago and connected a perfect Y chromosome match. The researchers found robust evidence that Hitler had some form of a well-known but rare genetic disorder known as Kallmann syndrome, which prevents a person from starting or fully completing puberty. Up to 10% of people with Kallmann syndrome also have a micropenis. More prevalent symptoms are asymmetrically dropped testicles and low or fluctuating testosterone levels. This program insinuates that what justifies it peeking into Hitler's pants is that he was, quote, so keen to hide something, such as by asking for his body to be burned after his death, which begs the question, exactly how many of history's horrors happened just because some bloke had low T and was overcompensating? I mean, in my book, The Audacity, which is still available in hardback, paperback, audio, whatever, I do talk about having a textbook vagina and everyone in my family having a textbook vagina. And that angered a lot of people. A lot of women especially were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't make it harder for women to have like these non-pornography vaginas. For a long time, there are women who had like different shaped vaginas and they felt like there was something wrong with them because these were not the vaginas that were shown in pornography. I do not watch pornography. I just know that anytime I've ever seen a vagina, like, yes, mine and all my family members, and I don't know this through looking, I just know this from like discussions. I get into it more in the book. Anyway, we just have like, you can't, like everything's just tucked away is what I'm saying. And I didn't know that my vagina would still look that way after this last baby because it did turn blue and I had like blue visible veins, but they went back. Anyway, women don't have the same like link, like self-imposed link between like their genitals and how much of a prick they are. I don't think there's any woman who's like, oh, my vagina is like not the way I want it, so I'm gonna become like leader of Germany and murder people. I don't think we have that. But again, I hate to make large generalizations about genders, especially this week, because one of the clips from Emma Barnett's podcast, and I'm so great on a podcast because what I do is I speak in extremes. I'm not afraid of pushbacks. I don't have this internal like edit system that's like, oh, you wouldn't want that in an Instagram reel. I don't give a fuck. And so I did talk about my historical fear of men, and it was a more nuanced conversation than that. Of course, I talked about having to reframe a few things so that I could be in healthy relationships. And to some people, this sounded like victim blaming, but mostly the soundbite, I'm afraid of men. Do you think that vulnerability would make men like reach out in my comments and be like, oh, yeah, like, thank you for having this important conversation. Yeah, I can recognize statistically that throughout history and in like war crimes and all these horrible things that you read about, the most violent acts that you read about in the world, both happening on your street and within relationships and on a global scale, have been precipitated by men. No, they instead like threatened me in the mentions, called me a stupid, silly little girl, were really mocking and just horrible. And that's fine with me if they want to out themselves and project into my timeline that they are the ones who definitely need their hard drives checked. But yeah, anytime you make a generalization like that, people go fucking nuts online. In other Epstein news, the world is waiting with bated breath as the United States Congress charges ahead with the full release of the Epstein files. But one name you won't find in those files, Paris Hilton. But we almost would have, as the heiress is at the center of a decidedly not hot encounter she allegedly had as a teenager with Ghislaine Maxwell on Epstein's behalf. This all kicked off when music composer Christopher Mason claimed that Maxwell was eyeing the teenage Paris Hilton at a party. It remains unclear where or when this alleged interaction occurred, but Paris was photographed with Maxwell and now President Donald Trump, and I can see the photo now if you want to Google it, at the Anand John fashion show on September 18th, 2000 in New York City. Mason claimed in the 2020 Surviving Jeffrey Epstein docuseries that his friend was with Maxwell at a party and scouring the city, quote, for younger girls to go on dates with Jeffrey. Ghislaine said, oh my God, who's that? And she was looking at this pretty young sort of teenage girl. And she said, do you know her? My friend said, yes, she's called Paris Hilton. And Ghislaine said, God, she'd be perfect for Jeffrey. Can you introduce us? And like, this is the least surprising bit of alleged gossip ever. Of course that happened, of course, because Paris Hilton was sneaking out, going into places where teenage girls should not be as a young woman in New York City, living the aristocratic lifestyle. She has admitted that herself, that she was in these spaces. And I think a lot of teenagers, again, not to victim blame, Ghislaine Maxwell should obviously not be looking at any borderline 18, 19, 21, 16-year-old girl and thinking, perfect for Jeffrey. Like, obviously, these people are sick. But even myself as a teenager, and probably Violet as a 16-year-old and her friends, they want to be in these adult spaces because it looks fun, and they don't understand the danger that they expose themselves to. And this is why, like, oh my God, like, do not be a young woman in an adult space like that. Again, the predators and the perpetrators are the ones who are at fault for like scouring, I think was the word they used for these young women. But like, take yourself out of the game, young women. Like, be in a safe space for as long as you can before the world turns very dangerous for you. Hilton, for her part, is pleading ignorance, telling the Times when asked about it, I don't even remember meeting her. I'm such a good clickbait name. I don't like Paris Hilton saying that. I'm such a good clickbait name. She is a good clickbait name. Like, it's a huge thing to say Ghislaine Maxwell was looking at Paris Hilton and thinking of her for Jeffrey Epstein. But also, can Paris have some self-awareness and be like, yeah, like, I am exactly his type. I was a teenager in Manhattan going to these clubs. Our paths would have crossed, probably. And if it wasn't me, if it was someone my age who looked like me, that's shit also. Seems like a dodged bullet. Just time for a few emails now. This one is so cute, and it's from Sam, and I don't normally include names because people are sending me emails about all types of traumatic shit, but this is just adorable from Sam. It says, hi, Katherine. I have not a dilemma, but questions I would love answering, mostly regarding the names of things. Number one, you recently spoke about how you liked the name Juliette, spelled Juliette, over Juliet. E.T., like in Romeo and Juliet. Did you ever consider calling Violet Violette, like Violet with the E-T-T-E at the end? So I do think E-T-T-E looks more beautiful on paper than just Juliet E.T. I like a longer, there's something more, I don't even know what the word is, just whimsical and flowery about it. Violette, I think, would be pronounced Violette, where I don't think anyone's, it's a different pronunciation. So Violet on paper, I just like it Violet. I think if I had spelled it the French way, people would pronounce it wrong. They'd say Violette. And I did that when I was working in a sales office. I had to call business to business. I rang some lady and I remember her name was Violet. And I said, your name's Violette? And she said, oh, it's Violet, but that's how I spell it. And so I don't want to have any child correcting the pronunciation of their name, which is why my children don't have any Irish names. So Violet, but Juliet is pronounced Iet. Juliet without the TTE wouldn't be pronounced Juliet. Do you know what I mean? So I love Juliet, I love Violet, but those are why I chose those spellings. I think Juliet without the TTT does look like Juliet. And actually, Sam, you have just uncovered why I think that, because it looks like Violet to me. Number 2, why is your new special renamed? So my latest stand-up tour, Battle Axe, is going to be a stand-up special coming out in December on Sky. And I don't think they have specified what date that is, but it is, I think, the first week of December. And I don't know yet, I think. It is called Firstborn Daughter. And that's because when you start a tour, when you name a tour and put it on sale, you do that before you're even performing the show. So I thought Battle Axe was a cool name. My friend Andrew Johnston, who is a producer of this podcast, he thinks of a lot of my show names like Nature's Candy, and he's thought of some other good ones that I didn't use. But Battle Axe was cool. And I thought, we'll call it Battle Axe because that's what I am. I am an opinionated older woman now, and people take issue with a lot that I say, but I believe in reclaiming what is supposed to be a slur against us to like marginalize women and make us shut up and behave. I like the word Battle Axe, so I called the tour that. But then as I performed it, a lot of the themes were about being a firstborn daughter, being hyper independent, and being the firstborn granddaughter, firstborn niece. And when I spoke to audiences, I'd be like, anyone else a firstborn daughter? And I have so many firstborn daughters. There are probably many firstborn daughters listening now, or youngest daughters, but who either have a huge age gap or who have assumed the role of firstborn daughter for some reason. And I'm not sure why that shakes out that way. But my core group of girls who like me happen to be in a very similar birth order. They have a lot of responsibilities. They're really independent. They're firstborn daughters. So I just thought it's not too late to rename it. Battle Axe didn't connect with people in the same way that Firstborn Daughter does. So that's why I called it Firstborn Daughter. And question number 3, why do you call Fenna Grace by Gracie? I don't know. You know what is so crazy that I'll tell you now? You might not care because it's very it's an in thing with the family. Bobby's father's death informs a lot of why we name our children what we name them. And it's a shame that Bobby was the only boy in his family and then lost his dad very young, and his dad was Dutch. So this connection to the Netherlands was sort of missed. And Bobby and I have been able to go to the Netherlands for work and to tour around and to go to Friesland, where his dad was from, and to learn as much as we can about this heritage that Bobby feels a strange connection to, because when you're Canadian, it's a whole other thing. People are like, oh, you're Canadian is not an ethnicity. I mean, it is, but we killed all of them. And there was a cultural genocide of Indigenous people over there. So everyone in Canada is European mostly, or now from other places around the world. But that is why I identify really strongly with being Irish, because I'm ethnically Irish. My dad is from Ireland. Bobby identifies with being Dutch. He's ethnically Dutch. His dad is from the Netherlands. So Fred, his dead dad's name, Fred. And then Fenna Grace. Fenna is an old Frisian name that I found online. It looks the way it's spelled. I like the name Fenna. I think it's a beautiful name, and Bobby thought of the middle name Gracie. So Fenna Grace, I think, is one of the most beautiful names on the planet. I love it. And we rarely call her Fenna for some reason. We often call her Fenna Grace, and then that just kind of became Gracie. There's no reason We just call her Gracie sometimes, and sometimes Fenna Grace, and sometimes Fenna. And at school, they call her Fenna. And if you ask Fenna what her name is, she will say Fenna Grace. But she answers to Gracie. It's just like a household name. But bringing it back to Bobby's deceased father, God rest his soul, is when he was going out to the bars or going out to hang out with his friends. And Dutch people, tell me if you know what this means, because we do not. He would say to his family, I'm going out to find my Cootsie Fenna, or what Bobby remembers as sounding like Cootsie Fenna. And Bobby took that to mean I'm going out to find my peace, but he didn't really know what it meant. My happy place, he didn't really know what it meant. So we forgot about that when we were naming Fenna. I'm the one who found Fenna's name, and I wasn't trying to do Cootsie Fenna. I was like, what about the name Fenna? And we call Fred Cootsie a lot of the time because his surname is Kootstra. So it'll be like Cootsie. And we heard ourselves one day being like, Cootsie Fenna. And I was like, wait a minute, we've named the children Cootsie Fenna without meaning to. That little anecdote will mean nothing to anyone, but it's just funny. In your house, you just play with names. Most people I know are called a nickname. They're not called their like government name. And I call Bobby Dada, and he calls me Mom, which is fucking sick. And we call Violet Sissy. We don't even call her Violet because I think she's so much older that she deserves, kind of in an Eastern way, like a name that is a mark of respect. You don't use her government name. She's more than that. She's Sissy. Ooh, here's an email from someone with an only child. Katherine, I listen to your podcast for company during chores, and I love your no-nonsense, open-minded views. Thanks. Thank you for saying that having an only child that is a girl is chic. I'm not sure why hearing someone else say this was healing, but it was. I've struggled with this topic as having only one child was not by choice. It's my husband who only wants one. And I oscillate between grief, I'm very maternal, and hope that maybe having only one girl is a beautiful alternative to what I had expected in my life. I'm now 42. My daughter was born 6 years ago, and over the years, each time I've seen friends have another and sometimes yet another child, I felt increasingly left behind and in pain that I haven't been able to give my child a sibling. But maybe I've given her a chic life, a relatively calm, comfortable, rivalry-free existence, and that can't be too bad. Maybe it's even covetable. Girl, you do not know how right you are. One child. And this is blowing up online, by the way. Go on TikTok, go on Instagram, and you will see meme after reel after video of people being like, one daughter is chic as fuck. There's even a meme of Parent Trap when Natasha Richardson's character is standing with one Lindsay Lohan twin, and they both look amazing. And the meme says, she gave one away just to be chic, or like she got rid of one just to be more chic. Twin girls, no, not chic. One daughter is the chicest you could be. And I have lived the life that you sometimes covet. I went on to remarry, which you could have done, because I don't like your husband holding your biological legacy hostage. Because you know what could happen? And I don't want to upset you, and I'm going to. You know what could happen is you guys could split 5 years from now. You're 47. He's God knows what age. It doesn't matter. 89. He shacks up with some Pilates instructor and has more kids with her. It happens all the time. And this is why I don't think men should be in charge of how many kids you have or don't have. Like, shut up. This is my window, and you can have kids until you're 200 years old if you eat right. Anyway, I hope that you love him, and I hope he doesn't do that. But don't worry, if he does, he'll be miserable anyway because he won't have learned anything. I have a girlfriend who's going through a divorce, and her husband was in the wrong. Like, the divorce, it's not like questionable. The divorce was because of him. And he didn't want it. And he should have acted differently if he didn't want it, because now he's getting divorced. And I like him. I love her. My heart goes out to anyone navigating a divorce, fine. But he's already got a girlfriend. Like, he is a loaded gun who's going to make the same mistake again and again and again and again because he's taken no time for himself to learn anything. So God help her if they have more children together before he's able to, learn some lessons. But that's what men do. They move on quick. They move on quick because they need that validation, not to generalize. Back to you. I'm living that life. I remarried. Well, I've never been married before. Bobby was married, had no kids. We got married a decade after I had already had a child with someone else who has since absconded into wherever, mercifully, love it. And I had all these extra kids, and I love them. I am glad that they are here, but I can tell you exclusively, as much as I love them, I would die for them, I don't have the bond with them that I had with Violet. I don't. And maybe it will grow. I love them, but that was special, what I had with her. It was something else. And when I think about the life that I could have now, if I hadn't got married, if I hadn't had all these extra kids, I'm not saying it would be better or worse, but it would be chic. It would be chic. One daughter, honey. One daughter is enough. And you know what? It doesn't matter because you're 42 now. You're not looking to have any more. This was God's plan for you. This was God's plan for you. And I'm so excited for you. And I'm happy that I made you feel better. Oh, here's the dilemma. Katherine, I need advice on whether my partner and I should still go to my dad's Christmas. Who wants to go to a dad's Christmas? Probably not. Katherine, we've just had a major rupture after I tried to raise something gently with my dad. I sent a calm, fairly vulnerable voice note explaining that something he had said hurt me, and I wanted to talk it through constructively. He responded with a 30-minute scripted voice memo where he described my behavior as insidious, appalling, and disgraceful. He said I had, quote, publicly beaten him, and implied that unless I accepted his perspective, he would withdraw from the relationship. The tone was patronizing, angry, and very one-sided. What? I then replied with a detailed message explaining why his response had hurt me. Why don't you guys call each other? Well, it sounds like a toxic relationship and you need the distance of a voice note, but like these voice notes crazy because you can keep it and save it and like go over and over it again as well. Ugh. How old is your dad? I don't think my dad could send me a voice note if he wanted to. Okay. I also shared some context from my childhood that he has never really acknowledged. His reply focused entirely on how my words made him feel, saying he felt sick, like I had punched him in the face and we were in a death spiral. He talked a lot about his own boundaries, but took no ownership of anything I had said, none. For context, we were estranged for most of my childhood because of this kind of behavior from him, and we only reconnected as adults. We've had about 8 good years, but we've never had to navigate conflict until now. This whole situation was triggered by tensions at my sister's wedding, but there is a lot of history under the surface. Meanwhile, he's still sending birthday cards, money, friendly messages, which honestly just makes me feel more conflicted and guilty. The issue is now Christmas. He lives abroad, but this year he has rented a big house in the UK for all of us. For me, my sisters, my stepsisters, and partners to have a big family Christmas together, which he is hosting. I'm not sure I feel emotionally safe going there because of none of this is resolved, and his messages were extremely harsh, but all my sisters will be there, and part of me wants to spend Christmas with them. I'm also getting married next year, and part of me wonders whether seeing him in person might give me clarity on whether he should be at the wedding. So I'm torn. Do I go to Christmas to be with my sisters and get a sense of whether there's any future relationship? Or do I take a stand and skip it entirely because this feels unresolved and I don't want to spend the holidays in a house hosted by someone who's just spoken to me like this? I would really appreciate your perspective, and the looming wedding decision is really stressing me out also. Oh my God. Well, for me, it's not about taking a stand, because your stand will fall on deaf ears anyway. It sounds like you've articulated yourself, the things that you don't like, the things you want to constructively discuss with your dad, and he blanks you every time. He just talks about his own perspective. I am not qualified to diagnose anybody with anything, but it sounds like he likes control. He likes to host the Christmas. He wants to talk about himself and his own boundaries. So anything you do, you're not doing it for him. He's not taking notice of you or your feelings or your boundaries or your concerns or your traumas. So whatever you do this Christmas can't be for him. Can't be for to make a point or out of principle. No. You just have to act selfishly, mirror his behavior. He's a selfish person by the sounds of it. And you just have to go, okay, I want to see my sisters. So I'm going to go there and block out the way that he treats me, or just not rise to it, or not even bring it up, like ignore it, because you know what you're going to get from him, and that's nothing. If I were you, I would never try to have these conversations again, because you have your answer. I think a lot of people waste time looking for an answer that has already been given. You reached out, you were met with a brick wall. You feel guilty, you feel conflicted, you feel like you have all this unsettled. Look, old men don't change. So you're just going to wear yourself out and upset yourself. Go to this Christmas, if you want to see your sisters, with a happy heart, and find closure in your own therapy from what this man has done or not done. Accept the money, accept the birthday cards, accept the gifts. Women get paint, again, I'm generalizing, and I will continue to do that until the day that I die. But I see a lot of women who feel like they aren't entitled to anything. And then we get painted with this brush that we're like gold diggers and we're money hungry and we use children as weapons. And this is what the men in my comments are saying about how awful women are. At the end of the day, we rarely kill anybody, and we are satisfied with scraps. Like, this man is responsible for your soul. He brought you into the world. You were estranged from him all your life, and now he sends you a birthday card with a bit of cash in it, and you're like, oh, it makes me feel really guilty, like I shouldn't accept it, we're not getting along. He should have paid for, he sounds wealthy, he can rent a big Christmas house in the UK. He should have been paying for everything all along. He should have sent you to private school. He should have bought you your first car. He should have clothed and fed you and paid your mother whatever it costs to look after you, and bought all your clothes. Was he doing that? And you're feeling guilty over a bit of money and a birthday card? No. These men are out here creating whole people, and you still don't feel entitled to his financial support. You are. You don't have to talk to him ever again. You don't have to go to this Christmas. You should still take his money. Absolutely. He made up a whole person and then fucked off until her adulthood. You should take more money from him. You should be paid reparations for that. Anyway, don't go if you feel like it's going to be too messy for you. But if you want to see your sisters and stay in his house and eat his Christmas turkey and accept gifts from him, do it. Don't have the conversation anymore about what happened before, except with your sisters and a therapist, because he's not going to help you. He doesn't have it. You're begging a beggar. Don't beg a beggar. He doesn't have it. As for your wedding, why do you need him to be at your wedding? Invite him if you want. But this whole it's up in the air. Should I have him there? Should I not? I think see how Christmas goes. It sounds like you want to be there. And then if you don't raise anything challenging for him, then maybe he'll be on his best behavior, and you can count on him to be on his best behavior at your wedding too. But you are under no obligation to spend time with him, to have Christmas with him, or to have him at your wedding. To what? Give you away? You didn't belong to him in the first place. Thank you for listening to another episode of Telling Everybody Everything. I hope my advice helps, even if it's a bit heavy-handed. Please watch Tinseltown when it comes out. Please watch my special, also on Sky, when it comes out. God knows when that will be. Probably the first week of December or thereabouts. Come see my show in January in Los Angeles if you live there, and tell people about it if they live there. Thank you for listening to Telling Everybody Everything. Please look after each other. Goodbye.